Welcome to Wild the podcast, where we love having inspiring, uplifting, empowering conversations live on air. Wild the podcast airs live on Just TV, Meta TV, 24/7, Roku TV, NCG Television Network, JessFM.ca, and SHH101.ca. While the podcast is sponsored by WILD, the nonprofit with a mission to eradicate domestic violence through storytelling, as well as Wild Press and Wild Homes and Gardens magazine. I'm your host, Diana Kouprina, and this evening our guest is the multifaceted Daralyse Lyons. Daralyse is a journalist and an author with prior experience in business development and financial management. She has written more than 2 dozen full-length books, a handful of short stories, and countless of articles. A member of the National Association of Black Journalists, NABJ, and Vice President of Philadelphia's chapter of the NLGJA. She graduated summa cum laude from NYU with a double major in English and Religious Studies and a minor in History. She is a TEDx speaker, an award winning author, a distinguished Who's Who honoree, and the recipient of the 2023 PA City and State Impact Award, acknowledged as one of 75 of the most impactful individuals in the entire state of Pennsylvania. She's currently the Chief Revenue Officer of the Bucks County Beacon. Daralyse, welcome to Wild the podcast. I'm so honored that you're joining us.
Thanks so much, Diana, for having me back. I'm really happy to be here with you and with your viewers. It's great. So thank you for inviting me back.
I appreciate you for your time, and I do love chatting with you. I guess to get the ball rolling, let's. I want to take a minute to focus on your magnificent accomplishments and everything you've done. Um, what has that journey been like for you?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I feel like I'm a recovering overachiever. I feel like it's interesting. I think motivation can come from like a pull to do something and can come from maybe like a push away from something. And I think when I was younger, I spent a lot of time just striving and striving and striving because I didn't feel good enough. And so I wanted to like maybe accomplish a lot or escape intimacy or connection or whatever. I was very type A and just like wanting to achieve as a way to prove lovability. So like I don't know that it was always a valuable thing to have an intense to-do list and cross things off my to-do list. Like I've noticed that now I've actually mellowed out and my quality of life is a whole lot better. So I don't know. I mean, it's been an interesting path, but I think as you were reading my bio, I was like, oh, it would have been nice maybe to achieve fewer of those things, but to savor them a little more and to, I don't know, like have a little more fun along the way.
Yeah, I mean, your bio is impressive. You went from you did a double major,
Mhm.
then you went into business development and management, and that's a big
Yeah,
switch to
I
from
worked,
literature.
yeah. I mean, I worked in finance for a little over a decade. My mom's an accountant, and so I grew up talking about interest amortization at the dinner table at 4 years old, which is like very not typical. And so I just sort of went into that world. I was the financial resource coordinator of a medical education company, and then I worked for a hedge fund for a little while. And I just sort of realized like that's not who I'm called to be. That's not what lights me up. In our last conversation, I had told you about I have been in recovery from an eating disorder for a long time, but I think for me, part of making the pivot from finance to being a journalist and working as a writer and working in the creative realm was figuring out like what I was truly hungry for and trying to give myself that as part of my recovery journey and just stepping out of the financial, like working from 7 in the morning to working at 7 at night.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think I've had kind of like very disparate careers, and it's been great and hard and painful and wonderful and challenging and easy and all the things along the way.
You mentioned, I was going to ask you, what were some of your struggles along the way, and then you mentioned your eating disorder, which we did touch base on our previous episode.
Yeah.
Um, but was that the main struggle? Because that can be really up and down, and to
Yeah,
achieve things when you're struggling that hard.
yeah.
I
For
can't
me, it
I
was
can't
really
imagine. I can relate to the eating disorder. I can tell you that my mind was just completely counting calories daily. I can't imagine adding more to that.
right, right. Well, it's interesting. I was in 2024, I was actually diagnosed with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and like that explained so many things to me. Like, I mean, I love that I have a brain that kind of gets hooked onto a problem and just keep relentlessly wants to solve it. And but it's also been really hard to be inside my head, and a lot of the people who love me and know me, and I have really close relationships with, are like, can you just relax, like sit down, read a book, watch some TV.
I
And
can't
so
when the hook has got me. I was
yeah,
diagnosed
right.
in 2017, so I'm like, yeah, yeah, I get that. I get that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think every asset has its liabilities, and every liability has its assets. Like, I don't, like, OCD has been one of the greatest gifts in my life and one of the greatest sources of pain and suffering. But I really came to understand just in the last few years, like, or last couple of years, that I think my obsessive compulsive personality is what drove a lot of my eating disorder stuff and poor relationship decision making. And just looking back at my life, I'm like, oh, yeah, no wonder I did a double major, but also no wonder I couldn't stop restricting or binging like it just all is
It
a piece.
coexisted
Yeah,
inside.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, I burned out, and then I spiraled really into the negative.
Yeah.
So I went into the drug addiction, not to be so in my
Yeah.
OCD, but
Yeah.
from like beginning of high school when my initial trauma happened, eighth grade going into ninth grade. When that happened, it was, I want to say, probably my obsessive compulsive brain that got me from A to graduating high school, receiving presidential awards, doing all these things and keep going. But at the same time, another part of me was just also drinking and partying. And I was doing these things that most normal high school students are not doing.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I think, like, whatever for you, alcohol or drugs or whatever it was, like that was the solution. But then
Yeah.
it becomes its own problem. And like, I just think, for me, like when I can take judgment out of it and just look at, like, oh, like how, like I was so innovative and so resourceful and so resilient. And also, my life was a train wreck for a long time, and I'm really grateful that it doesn't have to be that way today. But I still have those same tendencies, those same proclivities, that same brain that can get really, fixated on fixing things,
Mhm.
and like but can I just turn it to sort of more constructive uses and not vilify, um, just not vilify the parts of me that were really young and unhealed, and made a lot of choices that it'd be nice if I'd made different choices, to be
Oh,
frank.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I completely can relate to every single word that you're saying. And I know many who are listening or who have the same struggles, and I know there's many struggling, um, can relate to this.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
did you get from A to B? From where you were
Mm,
struggling, eating disorders, and that's really consuming, right? It
yeah.
consumes your whole body. Um,
Well, I mean, I think it's not, for me, it's not been an A to B. It's like A to B to Q to Z to X to Y to back to A again. But then I think that part of it for me is like giving up the expectation of perfection, giving up the expectation that I'm gonna ever feel like I've arrived somewhere, or like I'm like the work is done. I mean, I don't think I'll ever get there until I die. But yeah, I don't I don't know. Like it's just I don't feel like it's been linear. And I think that when I was really fixated on like I'm gonna fix myself, Diana. I'm gonna get to the other side. Like it was just, I mean, that created so many problems. And then anytime I'd have a setback, either with the eating disorder or become depressed or whatever, like I would be like, think that, oh my gosh, I've ruined everything, and my life is ruined, and my recovery is worthless, and this and that. And um so I think for me, I've just like kind of built a life that is way more oriented around recovery and around feeding my soul and my spirit and around loving and uplifting relationships. Um and I feel like by and large, a different person than I used to be, but I also have a lot of the same tendencies, and there are parts of me that have remained unchanged, and parts of me that still come out. Like anytime I am waiting, I'm really uncomfortable. Anytime I can't figure out how to solve a problem, I'm really uncomfortable. Anytime my body, like I feel sick or tired or bloated, I'm really uncomfortable. So, I don't know. I think I'm just healing incrementally and imperfectly, and sometimes slipping back into not so much old behaviors, but like old ways of thinking and feeling. And it's not been perfect, and I don't really want it to be. Like I'm grateful that it's messy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Healing can never be linear.
No.
In my mind, I always like to think, yes, so I was this and now I'm this, and I made it from here to here.
Right.
But it's such a spiraling type of
Yeah.
cycle that you go down. And then sometimes, even the more you heal, the more you see certain things that you weren't even able to see.
Oh yeah. And even if that thing heals, like there's been things in my life where I'm just not even that person anymore in certain respects. But then there's always another thing. Like there's always another. It's like, oh gosh, yeah, okay, I let go of that, but now, yeah, here's some other issue to deal with. And I think especially as I've evolved and my life has gotten bigger. So I have more challenges, more
Mhm.
problems, but also more opportunities for excitement. I mean, when my life was like super small and I was in and out of treatment and I was in and out of the eating disorder, it was like there weren't as many challenge like that was so hard and that was so painful, but I didn't have like, oh, I had a disagreement with a friend and how am I going to resolve this, or I have some things on my to-do list, or my boyfriend is going through something and I have to like support him, because I didn't have time for any of that stuff. My life was just really small. So yeah.
When did you decide to seek treatment?
Oh,
That's really tricky with an eating disorder.
yeah, well, it's so sweet that you even phrased the question in that way. Like, when did you decide? I mean, I feel like that decision was made for me. I was such a train wreck, Diana. Like, at one point in my life, I was binging and purging 12 times a day, spending $300 a day on food, passing out on the street, having seizures. Like, just so I wasn't, I mean, like I don't think I really was like made an empowered choice or something. Like I was just so yeah. But I mean I also went to treatment 18 times. Like it didn't stick the first time. And I wish in retrospect that I had gotten help earlier, that I'd been all in when I got that help, because it's been something that, it really haunted me for a very long time. And still I feel like I'm better than I've ever been, and I don't really struggle on a day-to-day basis, but I still have, body image challenges and all sorts of stuff. And not to mention like some digestive troubles, I think, that come from all of that damage. And even years and years later, like I'm not over it. I don't know if I'll ever get like fully healed from all the damage that I did when I was younger.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot. The
Yeah.
binging can take a toll. The
Yeah.
purging can take a toll.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, for sure. The restriction,
especially if you went
the
through bouts of not eating, that can take a
yeah.
toll.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, right, right.
Um, so you were in and out for 18 times from
Yeah.
treatment, and you
Yeah.
resisted. Because with me, for me, I know that it was the last thing I was ever able to acknowledge. Like I really didn't want to give it up. I mean, I really did not. And it was even I was doing a lot of healing after my daughter was born. So I was
Mm,
really trying to understand my mind, trying to really because I wanted to be there for her. I
yeah.
didn't want to be gone. I didn't want the same addictions.
Mm,
I wanted more.
yeah.
Um but even after she was born, I that piece I just could not let go of, and especially being pregnant, gaining I gained a lot of weight. I went from like 100 pounds to 160. And I remember one doc or 170, I think, at one point, like when I was due, and one of the doctors was like, well, this is an extreme amount of weight. But I'm like, but I was starving myself before. My body needs to catch up.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah. Oh, and our bodies are so resilient and so precious and so primitive. And like, yeah, it's just, I mean, like you look at the starvation study and different things that people, and like people go through restriction for 6 months and it messes them up for 2 years. So imagine doing that for decades. I mean, it's really, really hard. And, um, but also so common. I mean, so many women experience eating disorders or disordered eating, or I mean, and I know that people of other genders experience it too, but I think it's like still overwhelmingly a problem that women experience just because of what we're taught about food. And and also there's the hormonal components to things and just feeling out of control in a body and puberty, and I mean it's a lot that we go through. Yeah.
And especially growing up, I feel like 80s, 90s, early 2000s, like that, those time frames, especially for me, looking back, there was so much in the media, celebrities I loved, idealized, come out later saying they also have an eating disorder. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, but this is what I was looking at
Yeah.
and thinking this is the image I need to hold.
Oh yeah, yeah. And like my mother's generation and my mother's generation, like I don't think dieting was really as much of a thing. Like I don't think it was as ubiquitous or whatever. I don't know, but like yeah, I mean I just feel like there were all these like fad diets and fad this and fad that. I mean I can't imagine now young people with like growing up with Instagram influences and all the plastic surgery, like that wasn't as big of a thing, I don't think, when you and I were growing up. But
No, not the plastic surgery, just that kind of heroin chic
yeah.
look, right?
Right, yeah, yeah, for sure.
And I know for me, it was really starting, like, that's when I discovered, like, the chats too. There were
Oh,
online, there were anorexia chats, bulimia chats. And they would be like Anna and Mia, they had different names,
yeah. Oh, it's so sad. Yeah.
and always the images. And I would look at those images and I'm like, but I'm trying and I can't get that skinny.
Right. Right.
Never asking myself, well, why do I even, is that even attractive?
No, yeah, right, right. Well, it's not, I mean, it's a mental health disorder for a reason. Like, it's not
Exactly. Yeah.
logical. It's just, yeah, yeah.
And my obsessive brain really, picked up on it. And we just went and went and went and went down
Yeah,
that
yeah.
rabbit hole.
Well, and it's something to focus on and fixate on. I mean, you mentioned experiencing trauma, and like, I mean, even though it's an illusion, it's easier to focus on like controlling food and weight and body, right? Than controlling uncontrollable external circumstances or dealing with shame or pain or abuse or like, I mean, it's just, it's like, I really do think it is self protective, even though it creates its own problems. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that's a form of control and yeah,
What what what
agency.
what do you think for you triggered your eating disorder?
Oh gosh, I mean, how much time do you have to
Well, we
answer
have about
Yeah, yeah, I know. Well,
30 minutes.
yeah,
So,
I'll say, I had a lot of early childhood trauma. I lost someone who I loved very, very much when I was 8 years old. My favorite aunt died of leukemia. I had some sexual abuse in my childhood. But I also think like just how I'm wired. I mean, I came into the world with like this sort of intense spirit. I think someone else could have experienced the same exact traumas and pains as I did, and maybe they would have gone the way of like depression or drinking or
mhm.
I don't know what, but like for whatever reason you took my specific brand of trauma, mixed it with this obsessive compulsive brain, like some a mother who had a lot of views about food and like what was healthy and what was not, and like, and it just kind of was a perfect storm. But I think it's not just for me anyways. I don't think it was just external events, and I don't think it was just my internal wiring. I think it was a combination of like predispositions and genetics and external events. Um, and a spirit that is like very resistant to accepting help. And you take all that together, and I was like, I'm defiant and I'm going to do what I want to do, and you can't tell me. And and it yeah, it was a lot of coexisting factors, I would
How
say.
old were you when it started?
Well, I started restricting at 8. I started with more anorexia at 8, and then I became bulimic at 14. So yeah,
Oh, that, yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
No,
that's pretty young. How
that
about you?
around the same time,
Yeah,
I was really cautious around like 9,
yeah,
10. Um, and I just remember one time sitting at Bertucci's and I was eating pizza and it was the Solano pizza from Bertucci's.
yeah.
And I reached for another slice and my father said, "Are you sure you want it? It will make you fat." And he had gained, he immigrated to the US before us and he gained a lot of weight.
Yeah,
And so just seeing that for me, I pushed that slice down. That was that
yeah,
was that
that
is
was the
one core
moment.
memory that's like I remember that. And I really wanted it. I wasn't full. I wanted more,
Yep.
like,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
And that was probably around 10.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
just really being cautious and just seeing my body and seeing slowly the changes that were coming.
Yeah.
Um, and then
And seeing your dad's body and having
yes,
judgment and yeah, right, right, yeah.
and coming, he was so different when we were in the Soviet Union, and then seeing him again after what, a year or two, and it was
Yeah,
just such a big change.
yeah, right.
So all of that definitely played in, and then I was raped at 13.
Yeah.
Um, and so that really was something I didn't deal with. And then I ended up in a mental health facility that was also where I was sexually assaulted. And that was also not, I didn't heal. So I kind of re
Of
experienced
course. Yeah.
trauma.
How could you? Right. Yeah.
And it really went on full force when I was about, yeah, 14.
Yeah.
Really, that was, um, that was really prominent. And I was comparing myself to everyone else, to all the girls. I was in a really competitive, high achieving type of boarding school, all
Yeah.
girls,
Yeah.
and we were just competing with each other.
Yeah.
Even not knowing that maybe we should just be connecting. It was just kind of that, right? That this kind of competitive nature. And she's so much better than me. She got the lead role. She has skinnier legs. Boys like her more.
Yeah.
And so all of that started really, um, became my little world that, like you said, almost safe. Like
Yeah.
it's something because I don't have to deal with
Oh
everything
yeah.
that happened. But at the same time, I'm just hurting myself and I'm miserable and I'm just shame is just flowing through my blood, turning it,
Yeah.
black. And I'm just like trying to make it through. And
Yes.
that was hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I mean, it's amazing like that we're sitting here today as two people who I think are like relatively balanced and stable and joyful. And I mean, it's really quite the journey.
It absolutely is, because once I really started peeling off the eating disorder, that's when, I think I started even understanding more and more
Yeah.
about myself. But that took a long time because I really did not want to let it go.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I don't know anyone who wants to let it go. Or
Like I
like
was like,
any
fine,
addiction
let's
for
give
that
it
matter, right? Like, yeah.
anxiety, whatever. I
Yeah.
go all the huge, list of
Mm.
diagnoses that I have. But I'm not gonna tell you that I have an eating disorder.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just know I remember even sitting and just being like, but I'm not even skinny enough right now. And I was weighing probably like 90 pounds at what, 5'5".
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like they're not gonna believe me anyway. It's okay. I don't need to.
Yeah, I know. It's oh gosh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you think you found the tools in treatment facilities?
No, I think that I got out of treatment and I still had a relapse after treatment, but I realized at that point, I think that I was like, I've learned everything I'm gonna ever learn. Like it's not about that, it's about the application and it's about, I think, going inward and facing all the stuff I don't want to face. And I did a lot of alternative things. I did EFT, the emotional freedom technique, which was really helpful. I did yoga. I had therapy. I mean, I did a lot of like journaling and support groups and just a lot of different things, some of which were really effective, some of which I don't know if they worked or not. But I think like once I started to take ownership, that was really helpful. And also, I always thought it was like external, like, oh, I do this because of my family stuff or because my mom was mean to me this day. Like, I mean, my mom is a lovely human being, but like, I'd get in a fight with her and then I'd be like, well, that's why I did it. It
That's
wasn't
why I
like,
did it.
yeah.
That's
And I think like the minute that I started to realize that, like, oh, no, I have to take responsibility and accountability for this. Like, I can't, nobody else is going to save me. Like, this isn't something that I can like just blame on other people or whatever. Like I have to take ownership. And even if there were factors outside of my control that happened early on that led to the eating disorder or that contributed to it, like I'm a grown up now and I like this is my issue to deal with and I'm going to take responsibility for it. I really did start to feel a shift once I started to take more ownership and feel more empowered. But no, I mean, I don't think any one thing like helped me. Again, like I still feel like it's, I don't know, in the same way that like people have diabetes maybe or something and
Mhm.
the diabetes gets under control and they take their insulin and they're like doing well by and large, like they're, but they still might have to do more than someone without diabetes has to do to like maintain their health. Like I still feel that way. Like I still do a lot of like mental health and wellness practices and self-care and all of that because I know that if I don't do those things, like I'm it is a slippery slope for me. And yeah, so
I can relate to the slippery slope. I
yeah.
can see myself kind of regress if I'm
Yeah.
not aware
Yes.
of the emotion or the feeling, even a trigger,
Yeah.
any of that I can spiral. And sometimes, nowadays, if I'm anxious, I realize, wait, I haven't eaten and
Right.
I need
Yeah.
to eat.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's a reminder because I remember, if I was younger, my younger self, when I got the anxious, that was kind of almost like a high because I don't have to eat. I
Yes.
can go
Right.
days, right? This is
Mhm.
good. This is
Yeah, yeah,
great.
yeah,
We don't
for
have,
sure. Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, yeah,
and for me, the shame came with the binging because you'd go so many days, and I'd be so proud of myself. And then the binge comes, and that's when I would rate everything in the refrigerator. I'm talking about like
Oh
everything.
yeah.
So, and I could eat a bagel, eat some ice cream, and then go for the steak, right? It doesn't, it,
Yeah.
there was no,
Oh no, yeah, because you're starving. Like, of course, yeah. It's not. It's a reasonable response to starvation to eat everything in sight, and so yeah,
but
yeah,
that was also a coping mechanism for me
absolutely,
to
yeah,
binge. Just, I know that if I was really down, and if I had, cut myself, the next phase would be go for that
yeah,
binge,
yeah,
and then the guilt arises. And I, to this day, can't make myself throw up. So I was a big laxative person.
yeah, yeah.
I popped those X-Lax like they were candy. And they did taste like candy, okay? The chocolate
Yeah,
ones.
yeah, yeah, no, totally. Well, it's interesting though, because what you're talking about, and like, I mean, I know that this show sort of, the origins of it were to support survivors of domestic abuse or domestic violence. And like, I think that one of the things that when I look at my eating disorder, like it was so intense. And when you're describing like so intense, right? It's either like emptiness or fullness or, it's
Hmm.
really intense. And I think about even like, you know, relationship patterns that I had when I was younger and stuff. And they were so, so, so
So
intense. And I
intense.
feel like a lot of my work has been to get a little like to be less extreme and to sort of get more into a place of balance and like in the middle. So it's like, what does it feel like to eat a meal and feel a little bit full, but not, overly full, stuffed, and not starving, like gnawing hunger, right? What does it feel like to be in a relationship where it's not like so high and then so low and so high and so low, and to just like really recalibrate my ability to live in a way that is not intense all the time. And I still like that is something that I still work on. Like I can still be like, well, wait, like I have a job I love, like, but I'm not working 70 hours a week. So like, is there something wrong? Should I be working more? I have a boyfriend who I love, who's treats me really well, but like we don't scream at each other. So like, is that normal? Like it's just
I can, yeah, I can
really
relate
interesting.
to
Yeah.
absolutely everything you're saying in that intensity. And I think there's a lot also that kind of my home life growing up was very intense.
Yes.
Um, that's a really good word to use, I think. Yeah, very intense, very up and down, sometimes walking on eggshells, not knowing
Yeah. Yeah.
how to maneuver through certain emotions and feelings that others are having that can have this negative impact on me. And a lot of it was, yeah, just all of it, just this up and down. And relationships, I don't think I ever really had a very healthy relationship that
Yeah.
wasn't chasing, that wasn't arguing, fighting,
Yeah.
um, or completely codependent,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
just thinking I couldn't survive without, like, kind of like this love me. I hate you, but you have to love me. You can't leave
Yes.
me, but I
Right.
don't want you, but I want you.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Yes. I totally understand that pattern. And yeah, it's, I will say that I think I'm fortunate or unfortunate, I don't know, but that I'm a little more on the avoidance side of the spectrum. So I've done a lot more work to be like capable of giving and receiving love and sort of staying when I have a desire to run away. And but yeah, like I think so like chasing was never part of my pattern, thankfully.
Oh, you didn't get the chase.
I didn't do a lot of chasing other people. I had a lot of people sort of chasing me, but then if they caught me, they were like emotionally unavailable and completely inappropriate as partners. And like, but once I was hooked, I would sort of stay. But I
Mhm.
was always the one who did the breaking up and the whatever. Like, so that was um yeah, but it was just wild, like how I would find someone. I mean, I remember when I my boyfriend at 14 was, I broke up with him because he was too nice to me, Diana. I was like, he's
I've done
nice
that. I've
and
done
we could
that.
be really good friends, and like I'm attracted to him, and like he's too nice. And so I broke up
That's
with
a
him,
good
and I
fit.
went out with like the drug addicted alcoholic who
Yeah.
was 3 years older than me, and like a totally inappropriate
Yeah.
choice, and I dropped out of high school, and like I proceeded to be with him for 10 years on and off. And so like yes, but I really,
I
it's
have done
been,
that. Someone too nice. I could never be with someone that's too nice. I needed them kind of not be nice,
yeah,
not really like me that much, and
yeah, right, yeah, you're
not
right.
show that, not really like me that much,
Yeah,
have something
yeah.
else that they love more. And sometimes it was substances that they love more. And how do you battle with that, right?
Well, right, and I mean, like, because based on what you've said, like, you probably didn't like you, right? So it was like this
Oh,
mirroring. Like, I
absolutely.
feel like we look for a mirror of like, okay, well, this is what I think I'm worth, or this is what I think I deserve, or this is what I think I can get, or whatever. Or like, I don't want to be hurt and I don't want to be left, so I'm going to take this person because they're never going to leave me. Like, so much of what we do, I think, is just so subconscious, and so much
Mhm.
of healing is like first making the subconscious conscious and being like, oh my god, like really, this is who I am, this is what I do, and then kind of working with it and realizing like our tendencies. I mean, I um even today, like, I don't know, if someone is emotionally unavailable, my first reaction is like, ooh, like I wonder if I can like get that person. And um but I don't do that in the same
Mhm.
way that like my first reaction to a lot of grief or pain or upset or whatever might be like, oh, I mean, the other day I had something happen that was really upsetting, and I was like, I don't want to eat dinner. And then I was like, no, I'm gonna eat dinner. But sometimes my first thought is
Is
still the
I can
self-destructive
skip
thought.
this. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is big. And when you're having a moment, and sometimes you would have skipped dinner, right?
Yeah,
You would have
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
completely.
and thoughts are not behaviors. I think like learning that was a huge thing for me and remains a huge thing for me, because sometimes I have like wild, wild thoughts. But like just for today, I don't act on those thoughts, and I and
Right.
and for the most part, my thoughts are a lot healthier than they used to be. But yeah,
So, for anyone listening and relating to us talk,
yeah.
what would your advice be? Or still, someone who's still struggling, I would say, kind of in that in between grayish,
Yeah.
that area.
So I think, like, for a long time, I had the belief that if people really knew me, then they wouldn't love me. And that belief kept me from getting to know me. And like, I really hated myself, but I didn't know myself, right? Because like, I was just, all I was my self destructive behaviors and actions and whatever, and my trauma. And so I think, like, it's a really exciting journey to get to know like one's true self. And I have yet to meet anyone who has gone through recovery or gone through sort of healing or whatever who
Mhm.
regrets that. And so I think like just my suggestion would be to get really curious about yourself, like to stop trying to suppress, to stop trying to reject, to stop trying to like avoid or run away, or I say as an avoidant person, and just to kind of like delve deep, and get help, right? Like, I mean, if someone is, I think there's different levels of struggle, right? There's a person who feels like they're not quite self-actualized enough, and maybe that person can just journal more and go for some long walks and take up a creative hobby or something. But like, if a person is where I was, like, binging and purging 12 times a day, or where you were 90 pounds or whatever, like that, maybe get some help and invite other people into that process, but get
Yeah.
really curious about yourself, and delve into yourself, even if you think like, I am so unlovable, like I am so worthless. I mean, I've felt that way. I don't feel that way today, but I didn't know myself when I hated myself. And as I've gotten to know myself more and more, like, I really do love myself. And it's not always a like it's not always a feeling of self-love, Diana, but like the verb of love. Like in the same way that I think I'm not a parent, but I think as a parent, you might be able to relate to this. Like you love your daughter, and there are times when you get frustrated. I would imagine
Yes.
there are times when you
Yes.
don't really want to do the thing, but you show up, you make her dinner, you drive her to school,
Yes.
you tuck her in at night, you cuddle. Like
Yes.
I think that's the kind of self love that I aspire to. It's the self love where it's like I do the verb of loving myself day after day. Much of the time I feel the love, and then sometimes I don't feel the love, but I still continue to show up for myself and get curious about myself and cultivate a relationship with me, and all my other relationships have gotten better as a result of doing that.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And for me personally, it was really finding getting well, the negative voice still kind of exists,
Yeah.
but really turning that negative into a positive,
Yeah.
almost coaching myself on a regular basis.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. It's interesting. One of the things that I found really helpful, and I mentioned it before, was the emotional freedom technique. And I'm in the process of rewriting a book that I wrote about combining EFT and yoga for my publisher. But one of the things that was really, really helpful for me about doing that technique is that instead of the conventional affirmation where it's like you hate yourself and you look in the mirror and you say, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. Um, instead of that, there's like sort of a formula to doing an EFT affirmation, and there's tapping, there's like all this stuff involved. But basically, they say, you take what you believe that is negative and you say, even though fill in the blank, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. So, like for me, when I was doing that work from a place of self hate, I'd be like, even though I think I'm totally unlovable and completely unacceptable, I deeply and completely love and accept myself, because it helped the part of my brain that when I would tell myself an affirmation that I didn't believe, like I'd just get into a mental negotiation, Diana. And
Oh
I'd be
yeah,
like, well,
yes, yes,
like I'm trying to think positive, but I don't really feel positive. So I'm just going to use this positive thinking exercise to beat up on myself and tell myself all the reasons why I'm completely unacceptable. Um, and so I found that like doing those like EFT affirmations, like, yeah, even though I think I hate my body, or even though I have a
yeah.
big nose, or even though whatever, I love and accept myself. And it helped me to be able to move from hating myself to being more neutral to eventually, loving myself.
The nose one was hard for me.
Well, it's always something,
It's
right? Like,
always
I
something.
mean, it's always something. It's like, I hate that I have such curly hair. And now, I have a lot of friends who are like losing their hair. And now I'm like, oh, maybe it's a good thing that I
Maybe
have
it's not so
so much
bad, right?
hair.
It's
Yeah, right. And then like I thought, oh, I'm to this. And then like it just, what do I know about what I'm supposed to be? Like maybe I should just be who I am and trust that that will attract the people that I'm meant to have in my life. And not everybody's going to love me. I'm not going to be all things to all people, but like if I'm just the person that I am, my life is going to get bigger and better and richer and more exciting.
and it sounds like it has been,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I guess I said more exciting, but I mean, like, maybe I should have said more fulfilling. Because I think in my active eating disorder, like when I don't know, I mean, I had an active eating disorder. I was sleeping with strangers. I was doing a lot of things that were actually fairly exciting. I've like ridden on the back of motorcycles with strangers and
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
just
all of those.
danced on tables and
Yeah,
done. I tell a story sometimes about buying crack in Mexico. I didn't do the crack, but I bought the crack. Like I was with the Irish Fire Brigade, and like I have so many fun big stories, but I
oh
was
yeah,
so empty inside for such
yes.
a long time, and so I think like now I go to bed at 10. Like I don't know that my life is quite as exciting as it used to be, but it's so much more nourishing, and I feel way better about myself, and I don't have any more shame spirals for the most part.
Oh yeah, I feel you. I completely understand that. For me, I mean, the latest I can stay up to is like midnight, and
Yeah.
that means that I don't have to be up early the next morning. And but Otherwise, 10 is perfect.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that even when I go out and I'm with friends socializing, 4th of July, for example, with friends
Yeah.
socializing, I'm able to stop myself and say, okay, it's time for me to go. I am
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Totally.
almost midnight. I am done.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
past, me would have been like, what? I'm ready to go again and again and keep going because I want what is the next excitement or what is the
Well, it's
next.
also easier to override. I mean, it was easier for me to override my body when I was not taking care of it,
Hmm.
right? Like I didn't really, I mean, when I was living on coffee, it was like very easy to stay up until 2 in the morning
Oh,
and
yeah.
then wake up at 5 and go for a run. I mean, I was just, yeah, that's probably why I go to bed at 10 because I'm tired, Diana. Like I spent a lot of time like not sleeping. And
Yeah.
so now I need to sleep. Yeah.
So for our closing, I hate that we have to finish. I love talking to you.
No, it's so great chatting with you too.
I feel so connected to you too. But for the last remarks, I think what is the main lesson you would want listeners to take away? What is your message?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess like no matter where you are, no matter where you've been, it's possible to get somewhere really good, like, and to be somewhere really like full of joy. And so if you're not in a place by and large in your life where you want to be, like, get some help, get curious about what's holding you back, get curious about yourself, like honor your true hungers. I think and move in the direction of your dreams. And if you don't feel that you can, like, or you're genuinely not in a place where you can do that right now, then invite some people into the process and be accountable to them. Yeah, but I think I, you know, I never ever believed that I would have a life that was full of joy and love and connection, and I do. And if I can have that, then I think anybody can have that.
I love that. That is inspiring.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for being here on Wild the podcast. I hope you can come back because I do love chatting and I think we have such valuable conversations that we can, talk and talk and dive more into EFT. I'm personally curious to learn more.
Yeah, no, I'd love that. Maybe when the book comes out, I'd be happy to
Yeah,
come back on
absolutely.
and
And
chat about it. And yeah,
especially with people who are our listeners, I think it would be very beneficial for anyone struggling
yeah,
um,
right.
to hear that aspect of EFT.
Yeah, I would love
So,
that. Yeah, thank you again for having me. It was really great chatting with you and your listeners and
thank you.
viewers.
And thank you for everyone that tuned in. Have a great night. And until next time, be curious about yourselves and fill yourselves up with love, 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 and just let it spill over. I think love is the main thing we need to all focus on.
Love that.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
night.